वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्मयेधि वेदस्य मणिस्थ श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेनाहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Om. May my speech be firmly established in mind. May the mind too be firmly established in speech. May there be perfect correspondence between my thoughts, words and actions. O self-effulgent, innermost reality of all, shine forth in my life. May the truths of the scriptures come to me. May not what I learn from them ever forsake me. Let me live my life day and night according to their teachings. I shall speak what is appropriate. I shall speak the truth. May that protect me. May that protect the teacher. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Let us feel our innermost center of being, the unchanging, effulgence of the self. Anything that undergoes change. I am the unchanging, effulgent, conscious, blissful truth. Let me meditate on it as a bright light. The light of whom all other luminous bodies like sun and moon and stars are just reflections. I see that light pervading my whole being. And all the universe is also dissolved in that luminous infinite ocean. All is one without second, luminous and blissful existence itself. All the lines of separation caused by time and space have vanished. I am Chetanananda. Om. Peace, peace, peace. So we shall begin a new chapter in the study of the Sri Ramakrishna and his divine play. And we have been studying Sri Ramakrishna in the attitude of Guru, what is called in Sanskrit bhava. Bhava of Guru means the existence appearing like that. That is the bhava. The word bhava comes from the root bhu, means to come into existence. So that which comes into existence is called bhava. So Sri Ramakrishna, his Guru Bhava means his capabilities as teacher are now manifest. So this is almost towards the end of this particular volume, and we shall begin with our regular opening chant. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam kavibhiriditam kalmashapaham shravanamangalam Srimadattatam bhuvi grinanti te bhurida jana. Near the end of the last chapter we saw that this attitude of Guru, as it advances, it develops in a kind of seamless way, into what is called the divine mode, Divya Bhava. It is just spontaneous manifestation of the whole divinity as it were, in the attitude or bhava as Guru. Sri Ramakrishna is not exactly aware of this, but as it advances towards the close of it, you see that it is the manifestation, full manifestation of these divine powers appear there. As we read last Tuesday, that he sees that he doesn't even have to touch somebody to impart the illumination. He can do it even by telling somebody else to do that. Now this is the divinity expressed, and it is irresistible. And this is what Sri Ramakrishna has indicated also, that when this happens, the body is not going to last for a long time. It is therefore during the last year or a year and a half that we see Sri Ramakrishna in this kind of tremendously powerful divine mood, while the body was suffering. The contrast is important. The body, the physical health was declining like anything, and the inner divine effulgence was just springing out like a fountain. It was just springing up. So this is as this author of the book has said, that all these attitudes were not constantly present in Sri Ramakrishna's this divine play. The divinity took various forms, as you see that the actor in a play, during the whole play, the actor's moods are changing, the roles are changing, the attire that is put on is changing. All these things are happening. One can see that it is right from the childhood. Although Sri Ramakrishna's that divine knowledge as such never left him. Yet the manifestation varies. Like in some, especially the performance halls or the movie theaters, you see that initially the light is very dim, and then the arrangements are such that gradually it increases, it becomes more and more intense. So similarly in Sri Ramakrishna's life, you see that it is happening that the more and more divine illumination is spreading around, and people are feeling this. They are not understanding this, but it is being felt. So this is the last some chapters of this is they are of this type, that to see the transition happening from a teacher's attitude to the attitude of a divine effulgence. So this was marked by many, and so Swami Saradananda gives this a couple of chapters to indicate in how this transition was happening. So Sri Ramakrishna, this is the chapter 5 of this 4th volume of this book. Sri Ramakrishna in the company of devotees, the 9-day festival in 1885. This festival is called the Chariot Festival. So there is the note in the beginning, even the most sinful man, if he worships me with unswerving devotion, he soon becomes religious and attains eternal peace. Proclaim it boldly, O son of Kunti, that my devotee never perishes. This is from the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that if somebody that worships me, even if that person is sinful to begin with, it is then the man changes because of this contact, that the person's nature changes because of this new contact. So it is said here that apichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak. It is if somebody is very, very sinful, suduracharo, has committed lots of bad things, lots of sins have been done by that person. And yet what happens? Bhajate mam ananya bhak. The situation changes. Now, if you say, for example, have poison in a cup. Now, because of the poison kept in the cup, it gets called a cup of poison. It is not the property of cup as such, but what is filled in that cup. And now same cup, if washed clean and then you put some milk in it, it becomes the cup of milk. So a person who is filled with sinful ideas, think of the person as a cup, just to understand, It is, you fill that cup and then that person is called a sinful person. If the thoughts are full of sin, the actions propelled by those thoughts, they also are sinful. Therefore, now the person is called a sinful person. But that very apparent person, that very person, when cleaned of all these sins and filled with the devotion, now just because of the past association with sin, that person should not be called a sinful person, because now that person has become a devotee. And the sins have gone from that life, no trace is left. And it is human beings, they have, the mindset is like that, that we recognize a person from the past instead of looking at the present. So, in anything, that in this city, you see because it is an old city, and then the old people tell, where I live, do you know where that Dunkin' Donut used to be? That Dunkin' Donut is no more there. But then think of that time, where it used to be. I don't know what is there now, but where that Dunkin' Donut used to be, I live right across there. So that is how this person gets referred to, that the one who was very sinful. Now, while that person committed murders and all those bad acts, but now has changed because of what? Devotion. And devotion removes all that and fills one with true love, and that love has no trace of selfishness. So now that person is to be thought of as a saint. That is the meaning of saint. Looking at the past of that person, you don't call it sinner anymore. The person is changed. You read therefore the great lives like that of Girish Chandra Ghosh and so forth, that now your understanding about them is a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, very close to him and full of devotion, a tremendous faith and illumination. There was an incident almost at the end of Sri Ramakrishna's mortal life, that one of his disciples had brought 12 clothes, 12 these orange or ochre robes to be given to some worthy people, the monastics. They are put on by monks. So he told that Buddha Gopal who had brought them that, okay, please give these by your hands to the monks. And Sri Ramakrishna pointed to his young disciples like Narendranath, Rakhal and so forth. Where will you find monks of this caliber? You can't find better than them. Give this to them. So there were at that time only 11 of them present near in the Kashipur garden house. So 11 were given away. One was left. And Sri Ramakrishna gave it to Girish Ghosh. Think of that, So that Girish Ghosh, who himself said, there is no sin that I did not commit. So the association, the past old examples, we know how Jesus contact transformed people, how because of the association of Buddha, that terrible murderer Angulimal got changed into a saint. We know the story in the epics about this robber Ratnakar becoming a great sage Valmiki, writing the well-known Ramayana. So all these transformations happen. So these transformations are being mentioned here, that how now in this attitude of Sri Ramakrishna, when people are coming in touch of that, they get that illumination spontaneously, and then the darkness of ignorance and the sins committed due to that, they go away. It is the ignorance that makes us commit sins. That's it. Therefore Jesus, when he was being crucified, said that, well, God forgive them, because they know not what they are doing, you see. And they don't understand, they don't know. So in ignorance we commit all sorts of follies. But when that ignorance is gone due to this illumination, now everything is bright and shining. There is no sin in that life possible. So this is, he says, therefore remember, Name Bhakta Pranashyati, my devotee never perishes. My devotee who is has taken up the devotion, now that person is connected with reality. Now there is no perishing. Otherwise it is automatically, that is, the things are going to vanish. They are going to perish. As a wave, it is no stopping of its perishing. As ocean, it can never perish. So what happens, devotion makes you connected to your true nature, that you are the ocean and not this wave. So that is how you get connected to that which is eternal. And thus, Name Bhakta Pranashyati, my devotee never perishes. So this is the idea that will be further developed in this chapter. To understand a little of the wonderful character of Sri Ramakrishna, one must see him in the company of his devotees. One will get a glimpse of his divine play if one observes and understands thoroughly how and in what ways the Master lived every day, how he talked and joked with various kinds of devotees, and at the same time remained in a divine mode and in samadhi. We shall now present to the reader the story of the Master's divine play with devotees for a few days. So that is where Sri Ramakrishna is just a spontaneous person. When somebody is conscious, like now I am conscious that I am giving lecture, so I will deliberately bring out all the good thoughts and whatever learning that I have to the fore in my speech. But my character would be not judged by that, because this is putting up a show. It is, yes, somebody was telling me that that I am lazy. That person was telling me I am lazy and not as active as you. I said, no, I am lazier than you, only I cover it up. So when presenting yourself to somebody, you show the good side of your personality is shown to them. And it should be like that, but it should not mean that we don't have or the other bad things in us which spontaneously get expressed. So, in sitting for meditation, we bring up all the meditative thoughts that divinity, I am divine, or something, I am pure, and concentrate on that purity. But then afterwards, all the other things start happening. The meditative feeling it doesn't last too long then. Afterwards, we get busy with our day-to-day work. So it is, as they say in Christendom, that it is on Sundays we go to church, think of many good things, listen to nice these things, so sermons, fine. But then there is Monday. So Monday the different life begins, so which has in a way no connection with what we heard on Sunday. So that Sunday sermon is kept there. But the Monday life is different. Therefore, in the company of devotees, Sri Ramakrishna seen in just his very day-to-day regular mood. Swami Vivekananda used to say that as I am growing older, I see that the greatness of a person can be judged in how that person does the day-to-day activities. The minute acts, the simple acts of life, they tell that. Not when that person is doing any big act. Anybody can show that it is bravery or whatever when thousands of people are watching, then all that comes up. It is, but then that person actually could be very coward or very that may not be that courageous. There is a story, of course it has different connotation, but very nice illustrative in this. There was a very expert, skillful ringmaster in a circus. He worked here in US, although from a very small village in India near Kolhapur. And then he became a world-renowned ringmaster. And then his very interesting book has been published in Marathi language, and that these tigers and lions are my friends. That is the title of that book. And he was always in the company of these tigers and so forth in the circus time. Now at some place the circus had their camp and the show was over, and then there was not any big hotel or something available there. So they had one big dorm room and many of them were sleeping there. And then at night suddenly he screamed and was scared to bones. This man who otherwise would put his neck in the mouth of tiger, every circus show, okay, so much fearless, so much courage to face a tiger is, as the famous this hunter says, Jim Corbett, his name, Jim Corbett says that if you are not scared by looking at a tiger, and not in a zoo, but in a forest when you are almost cornered, if you are not scared, then either you are God or you are a stark, insane person. It is either of the two possibilities. The seeing the tiger like that, there was once a management question was there. Some job was there, and then many candidates were being asked some tough questions, that in such situation what will you do and what will you do. And one question was put that, well, you are facing a tiger, all sides, there is no room to run at all. And even if you run, seemingly no chance to save yourself. Now what will you do in that situation? And some people give some answers. Some said this, some said I will make a pepper spray and spray the pepper on that tiger. One man was not saying anything. So the interviewer asked, well, why are you not saying? Well, the situation that you are describing, there I don't have anything to do. All that is to be done now by the tiger, you see. But I have nothing left to be done there. So only the tiger can do something now. So this man with such tremendous courage is scared, and all people, they put on light and then saw what he is scared of. There was a small frog, that frog made him get terrified, almost to the he describes there that I was shaking with fear. So because that on the show you can express lot of courage, thousands of people are watching you. There if you show your that fears, that will be different. Here it is, well, the situation is different. It is, therefore, what a person does in day-to-day actions, that is the illustrative of the actual character of that person. You can refer to the last 20 verses in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that is called the signs of a person established in wisdom. It is the person who is established in wisdom, how his ordinary actions are. Not just having read, understood a few things, no. Established in this highest wisdom, how that person behaves, how that person walks, how that person talks. It is, and Krishna begins answering this Arjuna's question, that how the ordinary actions of this person are. He says very clearly that there is no other difference except there is no desire that propels any of those actions. There is no desire. And not that this fellow, after getting wisdom, starts walking on the head or on the hands, is still walking on the legs. This person, not that before the wisdom, coming of the wisdom, he had, say, constipation. Not that after getting wisdom that is gotten rid of. No such things happen. what happens is the desires are gone, and thus the love and that knowledge that gets expressed through all the actions, no desire, and yet that bliss, total bliss, that is the life of this person. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan, and no such all the desires in the mind without exception have been eradicated. The sign of ignorance is desires, and the removal of desires is the sign of knowledge. So, but our ordinary understanding of desires is that without desires, how our life will be happy? Our life may not be a happy life, then we will be always morose or kind of inert like a stone, no desires, so no. Atmanyeva atmana tushtaha. The person is a fulfilled, joyous person, tushta. It is not an inert existence, but full of joy, the joy of the self. It is not the joy that we get from contacts. It is actually not that kind of joy. Coming from contacts with the things in the world is not even worth calling joy. It is really the seeds of sufferings, as in another verse of Bhagavad Gita it is described like that, that these are what you call, say, contact with the object in the hope of happiness coming from it. It is happiness there is only in hope, not actuality. Actually what you end up getting is called suffering. So, but here the happiness is without any contact. It is the I am bliss that expresses itself. Please let us try to feel this, that the my true nature is bliss, and the more I hold on to it, I feel that bliss, I express that bliss in every single action. So, this is what is the company of devotees. Sri Ramakrishna now, we will read in these pages, that he is now a known figure in Kolkata and adjoining regions, and many devotees are coming to see him, and some are coming from a distance. During this time, just before Sri Ramakrishna gave up his body, a devotee came all the way from Sindh. More than 2,000 miles away, he came to Kolkata to Sri Ramakrishna. So, Hirananda his name. So, we have now, because the news about Sri Ramakrishna is being spread through the articles written by Keshav Chandra Sen and others, and so many are coming to Sri Ramakrishna, and they are like that, that once they come to Sri Ramakrishna, then because now here they are getting what they came actually to seek, then they are coming again and again and again. So the number is growing and growing. People coming to Sri Ramakrishna. He had painted a picture also about Narendranath, that if you give some intoxicant, that opium to a peacock, then next day that peacock again presents itself to get the dose of opium. So similarly, when you see that something that is bringing out your true nature is available here, then that hidden deep aspiration of human being gets awakened. I want this. It is in the world one gets scorched by so many different desires and mixing with all sorts of different people. So it is a tormentation. But when they came to Sri Ramakrishna, they found a treasure within themselves getting opened up. So they came again and again. The number was thus growing, and Sri Ramakrishna therefore was constantly in the company of devotees, whether day or night. And he was, on the other hand, physically, his illness was increasing more and more. So, as far as we have seen, even the trifling acts and efforts of this extraordinary and great soul were not without purpose or meaning. It is rare to find such a coexistence of divine and human natures in one person. Here the word purpose has been used. No action was purposeless, but that doesn't mean it was a deliberate purpose. It was spontaneous. There was no such planning that, okay, we have to fulfill this purpose and so we will do this. It is not like that. There is a purpose getting fulfilled, but spontaneously. Sri Ramakrishna, as we see, and it will be further described by a few incidents here, that there was no ego, like a pen writing. Whosoever is the writer, the pen writes that. The pen doesn't have any ego or any plan that I will write this. Whatever the writer's thoughts are, writer's words are, they are written down by that pen. So it is not that the pen decides I will write a poetry now or a prose, no, or I will scribble some bad words. That is not the pen that decides that. Pen is just an instrument. So similarly, Sri Ramakrishna's life is just an instrument. Very difficult for us to feel this, because that sense of I, ego, is where our life is centered. So we cannot really get a hold on this, that how somebody can be free of ego and just still is living like us. So the purpose is to be, the world has to be seen from that angle, that it is not a deliberate purpose, things, but they served some purpose. So it is, I have not met another such person while traveling throughout the world for the last 25 years. A Bengali proverb says, states, one does not understand the value of teeth until they are gone. Exactly. Any of our limbs or organs, while they are there, we do not feel how valuable they have been to our life. Just for example, eyes, we take them for granted. Yeah, but it is, if for whatever reason, if the vision is compromised, even if it is not completely lost, our awareness becomes, very different. We see how we were having this advantage that we are now missing, that the person cannot read. We are accustomed to read. The person cannot just move anywhere because there is no vision. The whole brain becomes so, it goes into an insanity way, because most of our brain connections of perception are connected with vision. That is why for human beings, seeing is believing. Hearing is not believing for human beings. Seeing is believing. It is, if I was told by somebody that Charlie is in the class today, then, well, maybe, may not be who, possibly he was. But if my eyes have spotted him, then even if somebody says, no, he was not present, I will not believe that. So, when that is gone, then you know what value they added to your life. So, that is how it is when this is exactly what happened for many of us regarding the Master. When the devotees brought the Master to Shampukur, Kolkata for his cancer treatment, Vijay Krishna Goswami came to see him one day and told us the following story. Vijay Krishna Goswami had been coming to Sri Ramakrishna for quite some time now. And see, quite some time here we have to understand one thing, observe one thing, that this is all just about 5-6 years that Sri Ramakrishna became more and more known to people gradually, and the devotees and disciples started coming more often. So, this, because of Sri Ramakrishna's association with Brahma Samaj, which happened not in his, when Sri Ramakrishna was past his 40, then slowly this association, because Keshav Chandra Sen knew about him and so forth, happened. Otherwise, people didn't know much about Sri Ramakrishna. Vijay Krishna Goswami came to Sri Ramakrishna and he became so much influenced by that he left Brahma Samaj later. So, sometime before this visit, Vijay was in Dhaka, and that is a part that is now the capital of what is called Bangladesh. So, as he sat in meditation one day, he had a vision of Sri Ramakrishna. The door of the room he was in was locked. To determine whether this vision was a trick of the mind, he told he felt the body and the limbs of the form visible before him for a long time. He told this story to the Master and to us when he visited Shampukur. When something is real or not real, is it a visual deception? So Vijay Krishna checked this by feeling. That is how even Jesus, after resurrection, says to the disciples who were in doubt, terrible doubt, What is this? This could be a visual deception. Are we seeing Jesus? Okay, he says, hold. Because that touch gives an additional confirmation of what you are seeing. Otherwise, it is a visual deception. So, you see, but it is not there. Like in a panorama I saw in Holland, there is a very famous panorama drawn by a great artist, and when you go to see it, you see it is such a wonderful scene on a beach of that old times beach, seashore, and wow, it appears to be so very real that you actually feel that that is the sand there, this is actually the log of wood, and this is the rope, and this is all the waters. You do not think at all that it is just a painting. You spontaneously go to hold the rope just to see, is it really rope? And you see, no, it is just a painting, there is no rope there. It is, to check whether what we see is correct or not. Obviously, we know that it is in our understanding that it can't be real after all, because in that small room you cannot have ocean there. So, but we checked that it is. So Vijay Krishna also tried to feel, is Sri Ramakrishna that he is seeing is real or not? And he felt, he saw, he was convinced that that is real. And it's a long distance. I do not exactly know how much the distance is between Dhaka and Kolkata. Anybody knows? Do you know, Abhijit? Yeah, as the crow flies, huh? Yeah, okay, yeah, it takes about an hour for the flight to get there. So it is something like that. Now he came back to Kolkata. He then he narrated that to Master that Vijay, I have travelled to various parts of this country and across the mountains, and I have met many sadhus and great souls, but I have never seen anyone like him, pointing to the Master. Here I see 100% spirituality. Elsewhere I have seen 12%, sometimes 6%, sometimes 2%, and sometimes 1%. But I have never found even 25% in any other soul. Now, how to, don't take these figures very literally, they are just giving an indication of the tremendous impression that he felt of that seeing Sri Ramakrishna coming to him in this room. And there were some other recorded incidents of this type, that and this is called in yoga philosophy, Patanjali calls it the Kaya Vyuha Siddhi. Means a person can manifest in various bodies. When you are, you can create bodies, just as you can create one body. This is the body that is created, you know. So another copy of the same can be created too. It is so. It is not that we see this, that if the person is here in Providence, in Vedanta society, like Mariani, she is here in Providence. Can she be in Calgary at the same time? What? No, if you are here, you are not in Calgary. If you are in Calgary, you are not here. So, but you can make another copy of this body, 3D copy. That can be seen, that can be felt, that can be spoken to, all that. So it is Sri Ramakrishna appears therefore to different people like that. It is, even later I have heard so many incidents. I have no reason to doubt that they were just fake imaginary things, because those people were quite sincere people. That and meditating on that makes you feel the presence. Anyway, so what he says to the master, well, we don't have time today to discuss that. We will have to wait till next Tuesday to discuss that. So we will think about this for half a minute, and then in case anybody has any question, and we shall take it up for discussion. Any question? No question. Oh, Abhijit has a question.
So, so being in Dhaka, Sri Ramakrishna could be seen by what's his name?
Vijay Krishna.
Vijay Krishna Goswami, right?
Yes.
And I remember that I mean, he could touch and all that, but Sri Ramakrishna said later on that it's not good that my body is going around like this. The body may not last too much.
Yes, yes.
But it was not his own experience. He was taking the testimony of Vijay. He didn't remember going around. So
he did not contradict.
No, he didn't contradict. Yeah, that's true. But it was not his experience, right? He was. So how is it possible? It's like obviously it's Vijay Goswami's state of mind is involved here, but
exactly. You know, you are now creating a distinction between, say, Sri Ramakrishna being seen by people in Dakshineshwar. How do they see that? Their mind is involved in it too. Those who were seeing him in Dakshineshwar, and their mind also was involved.
Yes, but that's corroborated by Dakshineshwar Sri Ramakrishna.
And then this also is corroborated by Sri Ramakrishna.
No, didn't seem like that.
Yes, it seemed like that.
Okay.
It is only to avoid the wonderment and that sense of miracle. What Sri Ramakrishna tried to suppress all along was the idea of miracles. So therefore he did not, but he did not say he kept on smiling. In some other the incident, similar thing happens, that Suresh Mitra, Sri Ramakrishna had promised him he will come to the puja at his place.
Yes.
And well, he saw Sri Ramakrishna there very much. He came later with tears in his eyes. You cannot say I did not go there. You were very much, you came there. And Sri Ramakrishna did not say no to that.
Yeah, he did not, he probably validated his experience.
Exactly.
But why didn't Sri Ramakrishna also remember this event as he's describing it?
Well, why is there a proof that he did not remember?
Well, I'm just thinking
No.
by his comments later on that my body is going around, that's not good.
Yes, but that means it is going around.
Yeah.
It is going around.
But he didn't remember that.
It is, he did remember. That is why he said that my body going around like this is not good, because that is the sign that it is not going to last any longer. Because that breaks all the that norms, all the paradigms of this relative human life, that you are supposed to be in one place at a given time. Whole justice system, that people show that as alibi, that no, I was here, how can I commit a murder there in Detroit? No, I wasn't there. Now suppose this changes, that a person can be at several places at one time. The whole your justice system or that legal arguments, everything will fall to pieces, you see. It is like that. So he did not want to break this order. So this, when this starts happening, the body is on the way out, and therefore he does not even give a oral confirmation that yes, I went to your place also, and it is. But many have visions afterwards also. I make sometimes fun of that, but that doesn't mean that it is untrue. That one devotee, and because that person was quite sincere, was coming every day for meditation and all that, and he said that, Sri Ramakrishna woke me up today. I was working late at night. He was professor in a college there. So I was working late, and then I fell asleep, and I thought I will not get up in the morning. But then Sri Ramakrishna, I heard his voice, hey, get up. And I saw, yes, he was standing by my side. And he actually shook me. And then I woke up and thanked him. Oh, thank you for waking me up. It is like a person,
What language was he speaking?
Yes, he was not speaking English. If he can take various types of bodies, he can speak all different languages also. So anyway, but this is how you see that the reality of it is not to be doubted just because he did not positively affirm it. He kind of facially smiling, he agreed to that. He certainly did not contradict it. What would you have done if somebody had said, suppose, just to put it in other way, that if somebody said, oh, you had come to my home the other day, I would say, no, I didn't come. What are you talking about? I didn't go out anywhere. One Swami told in Velur that, that devotee was urging him that you must come to my home because I saw you in dream today that you have come to my home to take lunch, and so you please come to lunch. And this Swami says, I will come if I get the dream that I have come to your place. When we both have the simultaneous dream, then that could work, you see. So now this is, the reciprocation is here, that Sri Ramakrishna does not say no to that. Any question on the web?
Yes, there are 3 web questions.
My goodness. So,
First question is from Michael Doyle. In the
yes.
in the West, there is an overemphasis on sexuality. Is there any advice you can give to those of us born and raised in this atmosphere to overcome this deep attachment?
Well, just practice devotion. This is not just overemphasis in West. This is the main weapon of Maya, that it has all our desires, as it were, get concentrated and put in one bag called, say, sexuality. So that is everywhere. So and that becomes the source of terrible bondage. So one has to practice devotion to get rid of it. There is no shortcut, dear Michael.
Second question is from Sarojini Raju. Pranam Swamiji.
Pranam.
We desire to attend satsang and get a lot of joy from this, but this is also a sensory contact. How should we understand this joy, because it is not the real joy of the Atman?
Yes, it is not the real joy of the Atman, is still higher. So this satsang enables us to proceed to that. It is the tool by which we get connected to God and get disconnected from the this sense enjoyment or sense experience. And getting caught in sense experience is one thing, but this is like a big crane that moves, that loaded very heavy these boxes from the ship to the ground. So it is now that crane itself is not on the ground. The crane is maybe on the ship. It is, but it brings the things on the ground. So thus this satsanga is like that. It is a sensory experience, but helps us to cut from the other binding sensory experience. We have to bind to ourselves, like that box which is on the ship gets in a way connected to that crane, the hook of the crane, and then it is transported. So this satsang lifts us. It is a worldly tie in a way, means it is a sensory tie, but then it brings us to a level where we don't have to get tied to that. Yeah.
Third question is from D.L. Muthukrishnan Ramachandran. Is there in any book that teaches how to achieve siddhis like Sri Ramakrishna?
Oh, well, there are books on that, like in Raj Yoga, in Patanjali's aphorisms. There is a chapter on siddhis. But Patanjali warns there that these going after these siddhis will make your spiritual life ruined. And it is Sri Ramakrishna himself saw these siddhis. He gives a very bad imagery for that it is a heap of dung, these siddhis, you see. So it is, one should not go for that. That is the advice, that Sri Ramakrishna never ever asked for these siddhis. They came to him just for this purpose. They were, so therefore for a person who is established in divine, that person never tries to acquire these siddhis. Yeah. There is the book gives them, but Patanjali wants there. Te vyuthane siddhayah samadhau upasargaha. That is the aphorism of Patanjali there. It is the Vibhuti Pad of Patanjali's yoga aphorisms, which says that in your the pursuit of the sense objects that that is vyuthana, there they are like the powers. But when you are thinking of samadhi, upasargaha, they are obstacles. So, yes, that is how these things are. So let us conclude with the closing prayers. May the Divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahur Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.